Hello and welcome everybody to a new version of As Strong as a Mother. So we're just getting set up. If you know, you know, I'm trying really hard to be using this new system that I started using a few weeks ago. So I might be looking at different parts of my screen. But before I get into introducing my special guest, I just want to remind people where this whole entire concept came from. So if you know me, you know, towards the end of last year, I started building a second business, all focused around mindset coaching, mindset building, and resilience. And I was on a roll. I was in my flow. I had made a commitment. I had made a business strategy plan. I decided I was going to be really going after this and had started my very first 3-hour workshop in February. It went off without a hitch. I was so happy. And then everything came to a screeching halt. And when that happened, I decided to put this particular series together. It started at the beginning of March. And the idea behind it was that everybody I knew was struggling with this pandemic. And most people were struggling because it was unpredictable and we lacked control and we couldn't dictate our surroundings. And what I knew to be true was that so many people had experienced things harder than COVID and or the pandemic. So I started the series initially to highlight people's life stories to help put other people's challenges with coronavirus into perspective. I was on a roll with that series and it was fantastic. I had 8 different episodes. We were really flying. And then truth be told, we saw the murder of George Floyd and it stopped everything for me because at that moment I had to completely shift gears and go into something that was speaking to me from my heart. And I really couldn't do both at the same time. And at that time, I really dove deep into focusing more on producing a series focused on racism and how to educate people in this country and help move forward the change that I want to see. That has not stopped, but I'm not doing it at the level that it was. We were doing it weekly and we're doing it monthly. And so I've been looking lately at how I've been feeling, and I've been feeling out of my flow. And I think one of the reasons why is because this series filled my bucket. I loved talking to people and I loved interviewing people and I loved bringing to you something inspirational. So I made a commitment to myself. I'm going to resurrect this series. And I've reached out to a couple of people. And one of the people I reached out to was Nikisha Ware.
Yes.
And I reached out to Nikisha because if you know her, you know she's a true inspiration. She just always brings a smile to my face. How could she not with that amazing smile?
Thank you.
We always just have such a great conversation, whether it's online or offline. And full disclosure, I've met Nikisha just because I'm constantly working intentionally to grow my network. And she came through me. However, divinely, non-divinely, however you want to see it. And I just love her to death. I think she's super special. So I on this, re-grand opening, if you will, of the series. So welcome, Nakesha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Stacy. Yeah, we're going to talk today.
We are going to talk.
Let's just don't talk about it.
Nakesha, maybe you can share just a little bit about yourself, and we'll kind of just have a real quick coffee chat about things that we have learned and experienced during this really unprecedented time.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Stacy, for having me. And you're right. We all attract what we need when we need it. And I think I can't even remember how we met, but anywho, I think it was in one of our groups and maybe connecting in one of our Facebook groups. And that just talks to how and what you attract, right? You're going to attract what you are. So that's a different life for a different day. But today we're going to talk about maybe attraction in another sense, because that's that's what we're feeling. We're experiencing a lot of emotions, and we're attracting a lot of things. And so you and I have been talking about how do we cut through that. So for those of you who are new to my face, never seen me before, welcome. Really excited to be on with Stacey today. My name is Nikisha Ware, and I work in the financial services industry. I think Stacey and I met because at one time I was coaching women how to grow businesses on Facebook, increase their engagement and social recognition. And I'm a mother of 2 teen boys and wife to David. We've been together. It'll be 22 years, Christmas. And I just enjoy, like you, Stacey, delving more into learning about myself. And what it looks like on the outside is personal growth, mindset, mentoring, and just helping people.
And for those of you who are not aware, I'm coming from New Jersey. I have a blanket on my lap.
Yes.
You know me, I'm always cold. And it's not cold here today. It's like 70 degrees, but I feel cold. And Nikisha is joining us from Mississippi,
where it is kind of steamy. And I have a blanket sometimes simply because they keep it like an ice box in here. And I thought, I started Googling, okay, the change. Freezing. It's about 70 plus here with the humidity. So, but I'm enjoying the weather.
So now let's talk a little bit about what we were chatting about on the phone.
Yes.
So I had reached out to Nakesha because I was in a struggle. And I think I was in a struggle because my boys were set to start school in person, but in a hybrid mode. So like 2 half days and the remaining virtual. That was changed about 10 days before school was going to start. And for the first 2 weeks, I just felt this frustration and anger and lack of control and predictability. And honestly, if I had to be honest, not getting what I want.
Yes. Let's just quiet as it's kept. Let's just say it. We weren't having our way.
We weren't having our way. And so her and I were,
we were having mini tantrums.
We were having pity parties.
Yeah.
And so we were on the phone talking, and I said, here's the thing that I realized. Here I was feeling frustrated and angry because ultimately there was so much we couldn't control when the pandemic started. I went personally from working from home in a quiet house by myself 5 days a week to having a husband and 2 children home all the time, and not really being able to have my own space, have my own place, be able to focus on my business the way that I want. And I really wanted those kids to go back so I could get some of my life back.
Right.
And you were saying this too, weren't you?
Yeah. And I was feeling like, I think I shared with you that time, just the time that it took to drive to my office. I didn't realize how much I valued that 8 to 10 minute drive, because in the car, it's just me. I don't have to share that space. I don't have to listen to anything I don't want to listen to. So I use that time to listen to an audiobook. As a matter of fact, I was listening to Jeb Blunt's Fanatical Prospecting every day, going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, coming to work. It was also my time when I did my favorite playlist, my Get Out and Get It playlist. And it was also the time where I maybe called my mom, or reached out to a girlfriend I hadn't talked to in a long time. So I was missing that. And up until this point, y'all, church, home, work were 3 separate places. And then in a matter of a day, it was all happening in the same place with other people.
Everybody stay. Right. So then how did you cope with that? Like, how did you adjust?
So I'll be honest, now the shade, the sun's coming. So I'll be honest, when we were told that we had to leave the building, we couldn't come back. Our company was, really relegating everybody to the house. That was on a Tuesday. So we were among the first, I guess, people to really just shelter in place in, I guess, in that area, in that building. And that was a Tuesday. My managing partner texted me on Friday. He was like, okay, I just need you to bring me the key. That's all I need you to do. And because I was going through this, I just started this business. What's going to happen? I've been using this business, the building to, make copies, to meet with my clients after hours. I had access. I had, the support of my staff. And all of this was going away in my new business. So I didn't know what that meant for me. So yeah, I reached out to a good friend. She's my spiritual advisor, Fumi Spencer Franklin. And she was like, you're having control issues. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm having. I'm having control issues. A part of me that I thought I had put to sleep, that I had taken care of, was triggered. I was having control issues. I couldn't control the business. I couldn't control the day. I couldn't control my goings and my coming. And so how did I respond, Stacey? I freaked out. I was like, this is not happening. How long is this going to happen? So that was my initial response.
And you know what I find so fascinating about that is I view you as a spiritual guide and a spiritual leader. And I view you as a mentor to me from a motivational and mindset perspective. And I think what's so important with what you just said is that even those of us who people think we have our shit together, we don't. We don't. Lose our minds too.
Yes, we do. And that's why it's so important. I'm glad you brought that up, because let me tell you, mentors, guides, advisors, coaches, ladies, if you don't have one, these are cheat codes. Coaches, mentors are cheat codes, right? So if you want to grow your business, you cannot do that in a vacuum. You have to grow yourself. So you have to have someone who can facilitate the journey for you. Not that she always gives me she's never going to give me the right answer or tell me what to do, but her support, her guidance, her counsel leads me into finding my own way. And
sometimes we get stuck.
Oh, we do, because we're human. And I think that we think people who are successful don't get stuck, because we're really not stuck, right? We're allowing really the mind, right? I didn't see it as an opportunity. Even I could not see that right beyond this obstacle was me having the best months in my business. My business exploded in the quarantine, hit 2 milestones. And I guess that's the thing too, Stacey, we have to remember. If we're feeling this stuckness, or we're feeling that there's a block, right on the other side of that is a new you. It's you, actually, but because we have been, rejection is a push towards something better for you. That's all it is.
On my desk, 24/7.
Right. So I like to think of it as not, rejection, but redirection. I was going to have to reach into myself to get the part that I was maybe afraid to let loose, right? And to uncover.
So, it's so interesting. I'm writing down a couple of things. First of all, you were saying before, people don't think that people who are successful hit obstacles. I personally believe that people who are successful, we all hit obstacles, but we don't necessarily see them as obstacles. Number one.
Right.
I think that we see them as hurdles. There's a big difference. An obstacle is designed to
break that down, unpack that.
A hurdle is meant to get over.
Mm.
And I think it all comes down to language sometimes that we use, and that has to go all the way back to attracting. Like the language that you use, what you believe is what you receive, right? So if I saw something as an obstacle, I would see it as a wall. That's a little bit harder to get around than a hurdle. I see tripping over hurdles as exercises in learning what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think people don't necessarily see challenges as stopgaps.
Mm-hmm.
They see them as something designed for them to learn how to get to the other side changed, because that's going to benefit them, number one. Number two, I think successful people know that they're temporary.
Come on, preach, Stacey.
They're designed there for a reason.
Temporary. And it's all temporal.
Mm-hmm.
It's all temporal in the whole scheme of things. It's all temporal. And I think, the fact that you pointed that out is the distinction. That's the huge distinction between the successful and the unsuccessful. And we're not talking about successful in being wealthy or being having material things. We're talking about successful, meaning having the peace of mind to move forward in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. Realizing a worthy ideal. That's what success is. So the big difference is they see that as something that's not going to last. It has not come to destroy me. It has come to pass me.
Amen.
So when we look at the pandemic or all of the unrest, the social unrest that we're experiencing, it has come to pass. So what am I not learning? Why am I not allowing this? Think about the experiences you've had in your life that when something happened that was out of your control, what did you do? This is another teachable moment. This is an opportunity for you to show and prove. Okay, you might have gotten me that time, life, but it's presenting me with the same opportunity again. How am I going to show up?
And I think that that's a little bit about what you and I spoke about on the phone, which really inspired me to resurrect the Strong as a Mother, because first of all, you're right. Everything's temporary. And especially in a situation like this, that's unprecedented, it's very easy to forget that it's temporary, yes. Right? It feels like it's never ending.
Yes.
But the other piece, what were you just saying, Nikisha? You were saying, I just lost it. Huh?
Teachable moment?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
This is my personal philosophy, is that as citizens, Americans, just humans, let's just say humans, period. I feel like we've been being gifted over the last 10, 15, 20 years with some significant opportunities to evolve, pivot, and change. And we've been kind of fighting it.
Right? That's the thing. We fight the change, knowing that, and I don't know why we do this, because how many lessons, how many examples do we need?
But I think that we fight it because we think we're in control.
Hello.
We fight it because we think we have the plan.
Right. The way.
Because it's the way we want it. And one of the things that I've always loved, I watch Oprah like it's religion for me. And I love it when she interviews Eckhart Tolle. And he will always talk about how people feel so much anxiety and stress with their life because they're not willing to let go and let flow, right? So what happens is we say, that shouldn't be happening. And usually what happens is people will say, that shouldn't be happening to me, right?
That's right.
And what he will say is, it absolutely should be happening. And I only need to know, I know it's the case
Yeah.
because it's happening.
It's, it's happening, Stacey.
It's happening. It's happening. And so the anxiety and the frustration and all this buildup comes from us saying, but it's not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And in our mind, we don't want it. But
Yep.
it is for you, not to you.
Right. And that's what Abraham Hicks calls resistance.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
We're putting up a resistance. And, this is, I'm one for radical personal responsibility, rather. And that is tough. That's an adult lesson. That's adulting at its finest, that whatever comes into my experience, I'm ready to handle it, but I also summoned it too. That's tough because that's not what we were taught, which means that if anything happens external of us, we've been taught to blame.
Right. Right. And that goes back to the looking inward and realizing what were the actions that I took throughout this period of time that attracted this result.
Yes. Who else could have done it?
Right. Right.
Yeah. That's a tough one. It's a tough one.
It's a good one though.
It's a good one. It's tough.
So look, my whole point with today, and I'm sure you and I are going to do this multiple times, I don't like to make them too long, is I want people to start really looking deep at how they're feeling during this time. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people are feeling, and it's not just because of kids in school or not in school, it's not just because of the pandemic, it's everything that's happening. And I'm going to only speak for our nation. We're in a very divisive state right now. Mm-hmm. And I fear it will become more divisive before the year is over, just because of the type of year it is, before it gets better. So going into the next 7, 8, 10, 12 weeks, you have a choice. Yep. You have a choice whether you're going to get sucked in to the emotion of everybody else around you, or you're going to have to take a step back and say, how do I really feel? Mm-hmm. Now, I was really feeling frustration and disappointment and anger for my children that they were not in school. But I was like, I don't see it in them. So here I had all this this feeling let go of, and then I turned around, like literally turned around, because my son was working at the dining room table, and I was like, are you unhappy with the situation? He's like, no, I mean, it's temporary. It's temporary. It's temporary. Okay. Do you wish you were in school? I mean, yeah, I guess I do, but like, whatever, it's fine. Yes. Okay. So then I asked my other son, relatively the same response, and I was like, okay, this is me. It's me. And to your point, Nikisha, if I go around giving out more anger, frustration, and disappointment, what am I going to get more back of? Anger, frustration, disappointment. Which means now I'm inviting it into my space. Yes. Because you're gonna find what you're looking for. Yes. And what most people will look for, this is another video, is whatever will validate their story. Come on, Stacey. High five. Whatever will validate their story, whatever will validate their ego. It's the ego. It's the id. Yeah. It's got to be right. Right. And so I'm fearful and aware that the next few months are going to be filled with a lot of ego. Mm-hmm. So as I'm resurrecting this, I'm realizing that I really want to feed people with some different lenses through which to look and walk through the next few months, because I get it from certain people when I'm on the phone, the anger, the frustration, the lack of control, the lack of certainty, the worry. And what I would recommend is that, first of all, you take stock of your emotion, ownership of it. You write the things down, get them out of you.
Right.
Get them down. Start to realize how, almost do like a piece of paper. Write down all of your emotions on the one side, analyze them, do a little audit. Which ones here are positive, which ones are not so positive, and then try to interact, try to counteract the, I don't want to use the word difficult, but the experiences, the feelings you're having that are not so positive. Try to counteract that with something that is. Because otherwise you're going to walk around so unhappy because the virus and pandemic are not ending anytime soon. It's not changing anytime soon. Things are not going to be opening at the pace that we want. Yes. Normalcy may or may not ever exist the way that it did.
That's right.
And so you're going to continue to be angry and frustrated and disappointed if you do not adjust.
You got to adjust. You got to be grown.
You got to be grown.
You got to be grown. And stop the projection. Just like you, I went, I was like, okay, y'all are not freaking out. This is not important to y'all. But what I was projecting was my own anxiety. And you're a boy mom. Nothing is more frustrating for them not to be serious about what you want them to be serious about.
Right.
I had exactly what I needed. Boys. Because they're going to, if you can't get it out in 5 words, it's toast. You toast. They can put on awesome. Right? And so in a house full of men, you have to, first of all, because I love your idea of making the list, because that's a practice. That's something practical people can do to start, right? To make it a habit. But me, I also need that in the moment. I have to say, okay, how do I want to show up in this moment before I lose my shit? I have to stop, breathe, and figure out how am I going to respond in the moment to this. Example, the algebra teacher for one of my sons just got all of his stuff up and he was like, you know what, y'all, I'll be 100% in a couple of days. And I'm like,
but this is the reality of the situation.
This is real.
We're all feeling that way.
Yes.
We're all feeling that way.
Yeah, you choose. Yes.
Can somebody have their shit together, please?
Somebody. And so you have to choose in that moment what you value. And I think we talked a little bit about that. Go back to your value. What do you value? They're going to drive you every time.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's our children's health and happiness. It's our own health and happiness.
See, I've got my babies here with me. We may never have downtime like this again.
Ever
with them. Ever. These are the last 4 years in my home. I will never have this time again. So what do I value?
Right.
A whole, happy, healthy family? Or do I value grades, measuring, right?
Yes. And you know what? It comes down to this too, Nikisha. This is kind of the yard by which I measure everything, which is when I'm 60 on a beach saying that sucked. Well, I remember the fact that the algebra teacher didn't have a shit together. Will that have really been important?
Yes.
No, it will not.
It won't.
It won't. So the little things that we tend to nitpick as a way, again, to get some sort of control of the situation.
Hello. Bring it back. Full circle, Stacey.
Control. That's what it is. When we nitpick, we're like, we want it that way. It's again, it's that ego. It's like saying, I need it to be X so I can feel Y.
Come on, that right there is that being grown again. If circumstances have to change for you to feel a certain way, you're gonna always be unhappy.
So interestingly enough, I was thinking about something. I wrote it down so I would have it when we spoke. I was going to write something to someone that said, I will be happy when, I think it was about the kids going back to school, because we're supposed to technically be able to start going back October 1st, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was writing a text to someone and I stopped myself and I wrote it down real quick to remind myself, because what I was going to say was, I'll be happy when they're back in school.
Right.
And I stopped myself. I listened to my language.
Yes.
I wrote, I will be happy to see my children go back to school. Because if we put a timestamp, or if we put a condition. If we put a condition on happiness or peace or joy, we're going to always be chasing it. We're never going to be satisfied. We're never going to be finished trying to get it, because I may not get that. I may not get that they go back to school October 1st. Does that mean I'm going to hold myself from being happy?
Oh, and which is sometimes as women, that's exactly what we do. We withhold love.
Right. We withhold joy.
We withhold joy. We postpone it.
Right.
Until the conditions change.
Until the conditions changed or the conditions been met. And so here I was casually texting somebody, and I was literally about to write this morning, I'll be happy when they get back into school. Yes. And I was like, and there it is. It's that when. And I backed it out and I said, I'll be happy to see them get back to school. Because here's the thing, when we put a condition on it, we lose control of our joy. We lose. My girlfriend Heather is a sociology professor, and she's constantly posting all over her house, choose joy, choose happiness. When you use the word when, I'll be happy when this pandemic's over.
Yes.
Shit, you're gonna be waiting a long time, honey.
I'm waiting a long time.
But if I can say, I will be happy to go outside and go for a walk today.
That's right.
You then are taking control of your emotions, and you're not giving it away to someone else, because we all have the ability to find positivity in what's happening right now. Like you said before, we're all home with our kids.
Yes.
You know, for the majority of us, we're finding downtime with them that we didn't have before. We're learning about them. We have opportunities to have deeper conversations with them, but those are all choices.
Those are choices. It's a choice. It's a choice what we choose to focus on. I love I am happy to, but I even love I get to, right? That makes it gratitude focused. I get to send my kids to school. I get to put them out the house. I get to wake up every day. I get to spend this time in quarantine doing what I love. I get to do those. I don't have to. I get to.
Amen.
I get to do these things.
That's where I want to end it, because that's it in the nutshell.
Yep.
These are choices of how you perceive, how the language you use, the lens through which you're willing to see challenge in your life. But if you can flip it and see that it is happening for you,
yes, and
never happening to you, the way that you walk away from that will be so incredibly different. And ultimately, you should be able to walk with peace versus frustration.
Yes, absolutely.
We're going to have to do this again.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it already.
Me too.
Again.
We're going to have to talk offline. Maybe people will comment below what they would like to see us talk about.
Absolutely.
Because I would like to know. I'm happy to serve however it takes.
Absolutely. I'm there.
This has been a blessing. Thank you for helping me relaunch this amazing series.
I'm glad I was the first one to come back on and help. Yay!
And I'm relaunching it with this new system from this company called StreamYard, which I'm loving. And I know you were interested in it, so that worked out well.
You gave me two things. You're encouraging me to do two things. One, to go live sooner in the day. I just got to stop what I'm doing and do it. And two, to check out either this or be live. But I'm really liking the live. What is it called? StreamYard.
Yeah, that's what I'm using right now, and I really, really like it. It's been very user friendly, and you can use it on all different kinds of platforms. So I've been really pumped about that.
I love it. Thank you, Stacey.
Till the next time.
I get you. Love you to life.
You too.